Hi, I'm Mary, and you are very welcome to English for Professionals. This is our Fluency module, and I'd like to thank you for choosing to train with us. I trust that you will find the material clear, stimulating, and useful to reach your fluency goals. The objective of this module is to encourage you to think in English for better fluency. You can read more about this in my article in the link after this introduction. So, there are three elements that you need to understand and practice to become a more fluent speaker. In chapter 1, you will cover two elements: the natural three-part structure of sentences and language, rich verb forms and signaling. In chapter 2, you will cover fluent pronunciation. And in the third chapter, you will practice all three elements to prepare a short presentation, which you will then present to me in your live Zoom session with me. Let's begin now with lesson 1, an introduction to the secret of clear and fluent speech. Good luck and enjoy your course.
First of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to construct a clear sentence in English. Now, there are three key points here. The first point, the message is front-ended. In other words, most of the information is in the first part of the sentence. You don't need to wait until the last word. This can be different in other languages, like in German, often the verb comes at the end of the sentence, so you have to wait until then for the full meaning. The second point, the main verb form contains key information. So you need to pay a lot of attention to the verb form. Verb form includes the verb itself, modal verb, auxiliary verb, negative form, etc. And finally, the attitude or intent is often given at the start with a signal word or phrase. In the example below, I'm afraid we've lost the data for that client. So in the first half of the sentence, you already know that it's bad news and that something is missing now. So it's front-ended. The main verb is in the present perfect form, which means that it is still lost. It is still missing. The attitude or intent is in the phrase, I'm afraid. I'm afraid means that bad news will follow. So it's a signal word or signal phrase. Okay, another example. I'm afraid we're not going to be finished for the deadline in June. Again, the first two parts of this sentence have most of the information, so it's front-ended. The signal phrase, I'm afraid, is used again to indicate that bad news is coming. So, I'm afraid we're not going to be finished tells me that it's bad news and the forecast is we will be late. The verb form we're not going to be is the future continuous. Okay, moving on. Just to sum up, going from thought to form, you know now that English speakers expect to get the main idea early in the sentence, in the verb form and signal, rather than wait until the end. Luckily, This way of constructing natural phrases in English is easy to replicate once you know some common signals and how to use basic verb forms to add details like time, obligation, possibility, state of completion, etc. If you don't follow these principles, you're pushing water uphill. In other words, you will fail to capture your idea in a way that makes sense to other English speakers. So here I speak generally about signaling. In the next lesson that you will continue on to, I will go into more detail about different signals and how useful they can be for fluency in particular. Generally, signals are useful and common in English when we wish to make our intention or attitude very clear to our audience. Here we're focusing more on spoken signals, which differ from the more formal ones like however and regarding, often found in writing. Signals are also called discourse markers or linking phrases. Example 1. I'm afraid we've lost the data. So the purpose of I'm afraid is bad news will follow. Example 2. I see your point, but it's not that simple. But indicates disagreement will follow. And example 3. This brings me to my next point. The phrase this brings me to is a signal phrase and it indicates a logical flow of points. So this brings us to the end of lesson 1 and well done.